Whiplash explores several deep and thought-provoking themes, including the nature of ambition, the cost of success, the power of mentorship, and the dangerous obsession with perfection. The film grapples with the idea that in order to become the best, one may need to sacrifice everything else. It asks the question, how far is too far when it comes to pursuing greatness? Fletcher and Andrew are both driven by a desire for success, but the film ultimately critiques this idea of success at all costs, suggesting that the pursuit of greatness can destroy one's humanity. The movie kicks off with Andrew Neiman, a 19-year-old student at the prestigious Schaffer Conservatory of Music, practicing in a small, barely lit rehearsal room. He's working himself to the bone, relentlessly hammering out beats on the drums, trying to reach perfection. His goal, to be the best jazz drummer the world has ever seen. He's not just practicing, he's chasing Buddy Rich status. One evening, as Andrew practices late into the night, the door swings open and in walks Terence Fletcher, the infamous jazz conductor of Schaffer's elite jazz ensemble. Fletcher's a man with a reputation for being, well, a nightmare. He's the kind of teacher who believes that the road to greatness is paved with blood, sweat, and an excessive amount of humiliation. Andrew quickly discovers that Fletcher, although initially encouraging, is relentlessly strict and verbally, and at times physically abusive toward his students. Fletcher watches Andrew for a moment, then without a word, commands him to play faster, harder. He doesn't care if Andrew's hands are about to fall off. He needs perfection. He calmly says, "There are no two words in the English language more harmful than good job." Andrew's first interaction with Fletcher sets the tone for the rest of the movie. A relationship full of pressure, manipulation, and the occasional, "Hey, let's completely destroy this kid's confidence." But hey, he did say he wanted to be great, right? After some intense drumming, Andrew gets picked to be part of Fletcher's ensemble. It's a huge deal. Being selected to play for the most prestigious group at the conservatory is the kind of honor that could change a student's career. But of course, Fletcher is still as intense as ever, demanding perfection even in the smallest of details. Imagine being asked to play the same thing 25 times in a row, only to have your teacher yell, "No, it's still wrong." That's the kind of experience Andrew is about to face. During his first ensemble rehearsal, when Andrew seemingly fails to keep tempo on Hank Levy's Whiplash, Fletcher loses all patience. He hurls a chair at Andrew, slaps him repeatedly across the face, and berates him in front of the entire band.
Why do you suppose I just hurled a chair at your head, Neiman?
I don't know.
Are you sure?
The tempo?
Are you sure?
Say that again?
The shocking experience only fuels Andrew's drive to prove himself, and he begins to practice obsessively, often to the point where his hands blister and bleed. Fletcher's voice echoes, "Not my tempo." That's just his way of saying, "You're not good enough, try harder." Andrew, not one to back down from a challenge, gets even more obsessed. He practices until his hands are bloodied and raw. Amidst his grueling routine, Andrew goes on a date with a woman named Nicole, and the two become romantically involved. However, his obsession with music begins to overshadow this relationship. His family, well, they're just watching from the sidelines, unsure of whether this is a healthy pursuit of greatness or a potential mental breakdown waiting to happen. Andrew's dad, Jim Neiman, is a well-meaning but clueless guy who's just trying to be supportive. In a moment of frustration, Andrew's dad says, "I don't think people understand the sacrifices you have to make." But Andrew's dedication to music is so all-consuming, his relationship with his father grows tense. Andrew becomes increasingly fixated on his dream, telling his dad, "I don't have time for this," and pushing away his chance at a normal life. Then things get even more intense when Fletcher decides to throw Andrew into the deep end. Andrew starts out as a second alternate drummer, just kind of sitting around waiting for Fletcher to decide who to choose. He wants the spotlight, though. He doesn't want to be that guy who's always the backup plan. After their first set at a jazz competition, Tanner gives Andrew his music folder, which Andrew carelessly places on a chair. When Tanner later asks for it back, it's missing. Tanner angrily scolds Andrew for losing the folder. But Fletcher, ever manipulative, shifts the blame to Tanner, saying it was his responsibility to safeguard the sheet music. When Tanner insists he can't play without the sheets, Fletcher demands Andrew perform Whiplash from memory, leading to a stunning performance that results in Schaffer winning the competition. Fletcher then promotes Andrew to core drummer. However, this triumph is short-lived as Fletcher unexpectedly reassigns Andrew's position to Ryan Connolly, a drummer from a lower-level ensemble within Schaffer. Fletcher humbles Andrew hard. It's as if every time Andrew thinks he's reached the top, Fletcher just raises the bar to a ridiculous height, saying, "No, you're not there yet." The pressure from Fletcher's constant, Demands starts to break Andrew, down emotionally and physically. One day, after being humiliated in front of the ensemble, Andrew practices so hard that his hands bleed, literally. But that's just a Tuesday for him now. His focus on drumming consumes him entirely. He even forgets to eat or sleep. Who needs those when you've got jazz? But just when you think things can't get worse, they do. Fletcher's mental games grow darker, and Andrew's life starts to spiral. He's so fixated on his success that he loses touch with everything else, including his family and friends. His dad gets frustrated with him, telling him that his obsession with the drums isn't healthy. But Andrew is too deep in it to listen. He needs this. Andrew's intense, single-mindedness toward music begins to cause friction with his family. He breaks up with Nicole, prioritizing his ambitions over any personal relationships. During a rehearsal, Fletcher announces that Sean Casey, a former member of the studio band, has died in a car crash. But instead of offering sympathy, Fletcher uses it as an opportunity to push the remaining 3 drummers to play Caravan at an even faster tempo. The grueling 5-hour practice session is brutal, but Andrew rises to the challenge, being the only drummer able to maintain tempo, earning back his position as core drummer. On the way to the next competition, Andrew's bus gets a flat tire, and he rents a car to make up for lost time. However, he forgets his drumsticks at the rental office, irritating Fletcher. In a mad dash to retrieve them, Andrew's car is hit by a truck, and he's heavily injured. The car is totaled, but instead of going to the hospital, Andrew decides to still make it to the concert. Because, of course, his performance matters more than his own well-being. Despite his injuries, Andrew crawls from the wreckage and runs to the theater, arriving bloodied and weak just as the ensemble is about to go on stage. Fletcher, ever the manipulator, says, "I'm not here to babysit you. I'm here to push you." And push him he does. Andrew's sheer determination to prove himself is so extreme that he risks his life for the chance to play a show, something that'll give him a shot at respect. Andrew struggles to keep tempo, but Fletcher halts the performance and dismisses him from the band. Enraged, Andrew attacks Fletcher on stage and is subsequently expelled from Sheffield.
Fletcher, fuck you! Get off, fuck!
At the request of his father, Jim, Andrew reluctantly meets with Rachel Bornholt, a lawyer representing the parents of Sean Casey. It's revealed that Casey had actually taken his own life, suffering from depression and anxiety after enduring Fletcher's abusive methods. The Casey family wants Fletcher held accountable, so Andrew agrees to testify anonymously, leading to Schaffer terminating Fletcher. Andrew, disillusioned with drumming, abandons his passion for a time. Months later, he encounters Fletcher at a jazz club, where Fletcher is playing piano. Over drinks, Fletcher admits his teaching methods were harsh but justifies them as necessary to push his students to greatness. He shares the story of Joe Jones allegedly throwing a cymbal at Charlie Parker, using it as an example to explain how the next great jazz musician would never let discouragement stop them. Fletcher invites Andrew to perform with his professional band at the New York JVC Jazz Festival, playing the same pieces from the Schaffer studio band. Andrew, eager for redemption, agrees. Before the performance, he calls Nicole to invite her, only to learn that she has moved on and is now with a new boyfriend. But surprise, Fletcher's evil genius comes into play again. Fletcher intentionally sets Andrew up for failure during the performance. At the festival, Fletcher confronts Andrew, revealing that he knows Andrew testified against him. As revenge, Fletcher leads the band into a new song Andrew doesn't know. The performance falls apart, leaving Andrew humiliated. Fletcher, with a grin, watches Andrew struggle. It's the cruelest trick, and it's clear that Fletcher doesn't care if Andrew's heart is in it. He just wants to see if Andrew will snap under the pressure. Andrew walks off stage, only to be embraced by his father backstage. But Andrew, driven by an unshakable need to prove himself, makes a decision. He returns to the stage, reclaiming the drum kit. He cuts off Fletcher's introduction to the next song and cues the band into Caravan, surprising everyone, including Fletcher. Initially furious, Fletcher begrudgingly resumes conducting, but the performance takes an unexpected turn as Andrew plays an improvised solo, fully immersed in the music. The audience is captivated, and Fletcher, despite his earlier animosity, can't help but nod in approval as the piece concludes. Fletcher can't help but respect Andrew at this point. Sure, Fletcher's a jerk, but deep down, he knows greatness when he sees it, even if it's buried under a pile of broken bones and shredded confidence. In a moment of admiration, Fletcher mutters, "I will not be the one who's responsible for making you quit." Andrew, playing with every ounce of his being, delivers a performance that's so raw and perfect that it's hard to look away. Fletcher finally recognizes Andrew's talent, even if he's been abusive and manipulative throughout the journey. It's a bittersweet moment. Andrew's moment of triumph is simultaneously his moment of total exhaustion. The final chord rings out, and Andrew has reclaimed his position as a drummer on his terms, in a moment of pure artistic triumph. In the end, Whiplash leaves us with a bittersweet conclusion. Andrew has achieved his goal of greatness, but at what cost? He has sacrificed his personal relationships, his health, and his sense of balance. Fletcher's influence over him has shaped his life, but Andrew has broken free, carving his own path to greatness, no longer reliant on Fletcher's approval. The final scene is ambiguous, leaving the audience to question whether the price of greatness is worth it. Whiplash explores the dark side of ambition and obsession with a raw intensity. The film paints a picture of what it takes to be truly great and asks a tough question: how far is too far? The relationship between Andrew and Fletcher is at the heart of the film, as it is one of manipulation, pain, and ultimately the pursuit of a dream. The film is an exploration of what it takes to be truly great, and whether the cost of that greatness is ever truly worth it. The final scene leaves us with a sense of accomplishment, but also with a feeling of emptiness, as we wonder if Andrew's success is truly fulfilling or if it was simply the result of years of suffering.